Hey mama, do you find yourself wishing you knew you were on the right path with your business? Or wanting to know how to do it all as a work-at-home mom and entrepreneur? If you struggle with imposter syndrome, mom guilt, or fear of failure, then you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Alexia, a Christian mindset coach passionate about teaching moms how to renew their minds to find success both in business and motherhood. You can overcome the negative thoughts holding you back from fully stepping into your calling. I know what it's like to worry your business will never work, to feel mom guilt every time you work on your business, to realize your mindset is hindering you, but not knowing how to change it in a Christ-centered way. I created the Mama with a Calling podcast to teach you how to use the powerful combination of God's Word and proven mindset strategies to help you break free from negative, paralyzing thoughts and gain clarity and confidence to go where God is leading you. As you step out of the old way of thinking and into God's way, you'll find more peace, joy, and purpose. Pop in those earbuds and get ready to let God work in you so He can work through you. Hello, hello. Look who's back behind the mic. The podcast is back. I'm so excited. It's been a bit after taking a little summer break and then some, which was really just full of a lot of me saying or hearing, Mom, look, Mom, look, Mom, look, Mom, watch this 1,000 times, which I loved. But at the same time, I'm glad school is back in session and I am finally back and ready to do the podcast. And I've missed you all. So this summer was crazy. I've said a little bit on the podcast before summer break that there were some things that happened in my life, like my grandfather passing away. And that actually led to this summer being kind of crazy. We went to East Tennessee to work on that house. And I'm just going to give a brief, hopefully I can make it brief, life update because there were some lessons from this summer, from these things that happened that I want to start this season of the podcast off with. So essentially we stayed in East Tennessee. Just going through all the things in my grandfather's house was good, but it was also, bringing up a lot of memories and a lot of things that I learned so much about my grandfather through going through his things that I didn't even know. And I just thought that there were so many lessons in that. But at one point, I actually ended up with food poisoning and passed out, hit my head multiple times. I didn't know I was passing out, but I was. So that was crazy. And my had to recover from that. Then I got to spend so much time with my nephews, and that was wonderful. My son had a really great time just getting to know that side of the family a little bit better. And then my husband actually ended up probably, I guess it was toward the end of June. I get a call that he has had an emergency, like he had a back injury. And it wasn't really caused from anything in particular, but he had a herniated disc in his back. And, we came back to Nashville and he ended up having to have emergency back surgery because he was starting to go paralyzed from the waist down. And so that was a huge, crazy journey. And then 5 weeks later, he ended up having to have another emergency surgery and have the same thing happen again. And during this time, like everything was, and this is the lesson I want to start out with, because this was the biggest thing I think that really stood out to me, was that when my husband got hurt initially, I had no clue what was going to happen with our finances, with his future job, with his insurance, like all these things. Was he going to be able to keep his job? All these questions. And it wasn't like God shamed me or anything like that, but it definitely brought to my mind two things. One, that I realized that I haven't grown this business and put the effort in, but I haven't really chased put the ideas into place that God has given me for this business. Like I have so many ideas and I let myself kind of drag my feet sometimes. I mean, like that's why I talk about all this mindset stuff, because I go through it myself. And it just hit me that you never know what God, like when you're going to need to have your business in place and the finances and all of that, like you never know what's going to happen. And it was like God was just showing me that if I had let the business grow as big as I could have, then, or like not trying to like hold it back, then I wouldn't be worried about our finances or about the insurance or anything like that. I could have just been like, completely let things go. But the other thing was realizing that what I have put in place, I was so grateful for, because I didn't have to worry as much as I would have if I had nothing in place, right? So that's the big lesson that I want to do in this episode, is just kind of helping to put things into perspective for you and your business, because I know that one of the biggest things that I hear from clients and people who just give feedback from the podcast is that they're just afraid to get started, afraid what people are going to think of them, afraid of money that they're going to make, afraid of money they won't make. And there's so many fears that we let that stuff get in the way. And that's why, doing coaching or joining the new class that I have, is so important, because we have to overcome these fears. And a lot of times we don't even know what the fears are. And I think it's so important to reframe it, to realize that you never know why God is calling you to do what he's leading you to do. So it could be that maybe somebody needs it. Maybe right now, somebody out there is praying for the solution that you have. In fact, that's what somebody told me today on our monthly coaching call. She was like, I literally was praying about this, and then I saw your ad for your free class, and it was like an answered prayer. And that's so cool to me, because if I would have let my fear get in the way of me creating the course or creating the free class or creating the ads or any of that, and I had a fear about those things, she would have never seen it. But in that moment, that's what she needed. And so you never know, whatever it is God's put on your heart, I know, you don't know who's looking for that solution right now. And I think this brings up another really good point, which is two points. One is to focus on not your own fear, not I'm scared, I'm going to look silly, I don't know what I'm doing, etc. Focus on the people that you're serving. But also the second point is that whatever you have, whatever God has put on your heart to do, it's not just a way to make money. It is actually answering a prayer for somebody. They are looking for this solution. And so really it's like you have this knowledge, you have this skill, you have this whatever it is. Somebody out there needs help with this. You have this ability. It's not, I don't say it's not fair, but it's like it's not right for you to keep it to yourself, because somebody else would love to learn how to do that. So that's one thing that I want you to think about. It could also be that God's wanting you to do this because the financial provision that you're going to need that you aren't even aware of. So a lot of times we say things like, well, I don't need to grow the business that big because, I don't need that much money, or that's too much money. Or we say, well, I only need to make this much a month. You don't put those limits on what you're doing. Or I've heard people say they're not going to charge because they don't really need to make money. That's a whole different thing, but same deal. If God has called you to business involves an exchange of money for goods or services. And so you don't know what God is going to, why God is trying to provide that money to you. So God knows what we need before we even ask, right? Jesus says that in Matthew 6. And so if he knows what we need before we even ask, he's also going to send the provision that you don't even know you need yet. So don't stifle your business growth. Don't let your fears stop you from growing bigger or feeling like growing bigger and making more money is somehow wrong. The things that God has put on your heart in today's world, if he wants you to start a nonprofit or do this or do that, you don't know what it's going to be. It requires money. How are you going to get it? It's not just going to magically appear. So you don't know what this is for. So don't let that keep you and hold you back from doing what he's calling you to do with your business. Another point is that God could be asking you to make a big life change, like go to the mission field or move to another city or take care of family in need, etc. And having an online business will let you do that. I know that there have been things that have come up in my life where I'm like, I can't do that because of my husband's job or because of my own job, a number of years ago. And if that's ever come up, you don't know what God has planned in your future. So having an online business allows you to reach people no matter where you are. Well, of course you have to have internet, but you know what I mean? It allows you to move. It allows you to not be, tied down for whatever reason. So these are some of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention, because I don't want you to let fear continue to hold you back, or doubt or worry or whatever it is. This is why you must not let these emotions stop you from doing what God is calling you to do. And I know this is easier said than done. And I can hear people saying right now, but this, but that, but you don't understand, but. I get it. I've been there. And when I remember there was a season when somebody would tell me something like that, I felt like I was backed into a corner because the visceral reaction was so strong. I was like, no, you don't understand. I cannot do it. But really, that was my fear. And I didn't want to figure out a way to think about it differently because my fear was so overpowering. But I worked through it and finally realized that I needed to let God heal a lot of those things. So I want to let you know about a new free class. This is free, that I've created for you. And it's called the 5-Step System to Clarity, Confidence, in a Business that Honors God. This is a way for you to see what God is wanting you to do and to overcome those fears. So if you've been stuck trying to figure out what God wants you to do with your business, maybe you've been overwhelmed by all the advice and you're unsure where to even start, this class is going to help you cut through that noise and get clear on your next step. And we're going to talk about myths that often get in the way, and then the 5-step framework that I teach my students and clients and my coaching clients that have helped them have those breakthroughs and actually move forward with confidence, gain that clarity, move forward with faith in their business without that striving and second guessing every single decision. So you can grab a free seat in that class at mamawithacalling.com/class. I'll put that in the description below. And I just want to encourage you to, as we're going into the fall here, that you really ask yourself, what is God asking me to do? What is getting in the way? And am I willing to overcome these fears and obey God regardless of what your mind is telling you? And because there's people out there that need it, and you don't know what God has planned in the future and why he's asking you to do this. And this is why I think it's so important that we realize that if God's asking us to, we need to say yes, regardless of if we understand, regardless of if it makes sense, regardless of our fears, because we have to trust, number one, that he has a purpose and a reason for asking us. He doesn't have to explain it. Now, in his mercy and grace and goodness, he does show us the way, and he's not like, do it or else. But he also doesn't have to, because he's God, right? We need to have this reverence for God to say, but God said, and I'm just going to do what he says. Like, I don't even need it to make sense. But the other part is that you can trust him. He's a loving, good Father, and whatever he's asking you to do is going to bring you closer to him and also show others his love through whatever he's asking you to do. So I hope that's encouraging for you today. Again, grab your free seat in that class. Go to mamawithacalling.com/class, register, and there's a replay as well if you miss out on the live one. And I hope these insights help you as you are following whatever God's calling you to do this week. And until next time, keep pursuing your calling. Thanks for listening to the Mama with a Calling podcast. As always, you'll find the show notes for today's episode at mamawithacalling.com/podcast. Really quick before you head out, are you loving these episodes? To make sure this podcast gets in the ears of as many mamas as possible, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I'm going to be reading your reviews on the podcast, so I can't wait to hear from you. Also, if you know someone that needs to hear these episodes, grab a screenshot and share it on Instagram, and don't forget to tag me at Mama with a Calling so I can share it in my stories. Until next time, keep pursuing your calling.